Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson, and today I have a very special guest in Taylor DeLong. She is from the DeRoche Realty Group with EXP, right?
Yes.
And you started your career just like 3 short years ago, right? And I've been following you on social media and seeing what you've been doing, and that's how we've connected. And I thought this would be a person that would be great to come on. Give a little bit of your background and so forth. But, you know, we got talking the other day, and, you know, one of these things is just trying to, like, who is Taylor, right? What makes Taylor Taylor? And we got talking, you were actually, couldn't make the first podcast because you were going to be at a dance, right? Down in, was it Florida?
Yep. Yeah.
So tell me and our guests a little bit more about that. Like, what got you into dance and so forth?
Yeah. So I grew up dancing at Larkin Dance Studio. It's out in Maplewood from the age of 2 until 18. So it's always been something that I've loved to do. And then I danced at the University of Minnesota. Was there from 2014 to 2018, and then got the opportunity to actually start teaching at a studio out in Eden Prairie. So I've been doing that since I graduated, and that has been super, super fun. It's always been something that's come so natural to me, and it's just a great way to connect with people. I love the not being on the student side and the dancer side. I actually really, really love being on the coaching side and being able to have influence on kids and be able to, it's a smaller studio. So the way that we get to interact with these kids and these families is something that is really, really important to me and something that has been so fun and so life-giving to me. So when I can turn off real estate when I can, and I get to go and I get to do that, it fills my cup a ton. So.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, you obviously in this industry, I mean, I know it, you got to be able to shut off because I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's an easy job. It's not.
Yeah.
You're at everybody's beckoning call at all times, right? And they want to go and do this. So you got to be able to get that step away. So you have something that you've done since you were tiny to now being able to coach it. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been super fun. Yeah.
And then what a great way to network with families. And
absolutely.
It's kind of interesting. Some of the best agents I've run into is literally having those extracurricular or whatever you want to call it, activities that you can do with other families because now you're kind of growing up with them, right? And they're kids, and all of a sudden now, next thing you know, you can be part of that next chapter. Maybe like, hey, it'll help them get their next home,
for sure,
and so forth.
Yeah, no, it's been super fun, and the people that my first transaction was with one of my best friends, for her and her now husband, from when we were little. So it's just super fun to be able to help people. And never did I think I was, and we'll get into that later, but never did I think I was going to be in real estate. And so now that I get to help people be a part of this journey from, when we were kids to now, it's just crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good question. What brought you, what said, hey, I should get into real estate? How did that happen?
Yeah. So crazy kind of story. I went to the University of Minnesota and got a degree in kinesiology and sport management. It's a hard degree to just go straight out of college from into something. So I was, what does this look like? Do I want to go to PT school, chiropractic school? So all those kind of things I thought through. And then I got to graduation and I was like, you know what? I think that we're just going to close the door on that one. We're not going to go to school and be in more student debt. And it wasn't really a passion of mine. So I actually became a believer in 2017. So I served with a ministry called Athletes in Action on the University of Minnesota campus and then a couple surrounding campuses in the Twin Cities. So I did a lot of things like support raise. I helped student athletes walk through what it looks like to apply the gospel to your sport. Got to be a part of sporting events and all these crazy different things and just get to help people walk through that right after I graduated. So I did that for 2 years and then COVID hit. And as we all know, it was just a crazy time. Things were all up in the air. We didn't really know what was going on. And so I just felt a shift in career from the Lord, just saying, hey, I think I want you to go to something different. So I took some time with some mentors of mine and kind of thought through, what does this look like? What does this next chapter look like for me, especially in this crazy, unprecedented time that we have no idea what's going on, right? And I was living at home with my parents at the time and was just trying to figure out, how do I keep my head above water? And how do I really dive into something that is going to fulfill my passions. What am I good at? What are the things that I enjoy? What am I passionate about? All those things. So kind of took some time and ended up talking with a family friend of ours that has helped my parents and my grandparents and everybody sell houses and buy their houses for, as long as they've lived in Minnesota. And kind of talked with him, and he just, encouraged me to kind of decide, hey, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want it to be something that you have free reign of, or do you want to be under somebody else? And so that kind of got me thinking, hey, this might be actually something that like I think I could really excel at. I'm very self-motivated and self-driven. So this field is something I think that I want to take the next step into. So over that summer, I took all my classes, took all the tests and all the things, and then was licensed November of 2020. And here we are.
What an awesome path, though. I mean, the best thing that you said, though, is you went to mentors, right? Because a lot of people will just jump. Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm one of them. Like, I didn't go to a mentor. I just said, hey, what am I good at? And I was doing car loans at the time. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm good at finance. I can read credit reports. So, I kind of wanted to be the same. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to have the freedom. And when I was looking at going to different lenders, I literally looked at like, okay, what is this lender? Oh, they want me to be there from 8 to 5. And then on Tuesdays, I had to be there till 7. And like, I'm like, no. So I went to another, which became, Steve Furlong, shout out to you, where he was like, here, you're going to run your own show. Yeah. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And, but you're going to have responsibilities. So as long as you can handle that, so it's an interesting way of going to a mentor, right? And then getting that and looking at that path, and then having that background with the faith and so forth, and taking that leap of faith, totally, and doing it and succeeding, right? So that's fantastic. And we just did a podcast with a broker a few weeks ago. Brett did, and we were talking about like, what does it take to get your license, and what do you got to do, and what are the best things, but so it's very interesting how to get to your licensing. Absolutely. And then joining a team, right? So we always talked about it. I joined a team because then you really get to learn, and then you also have leads, or lead sources or helps getting those leads. And a lot of people will do this, take the leap of faith, absolutely, and go on their own without really a lot of, but I think the industry overall has really changed. Oh yeah. Companies like EXP, they make it so much easier to start your teams and grow big and do things like that. Yeah. So that's been fantastic. I mean, we've watched EXP grow in the last 3 years, like exponentially. So that's pretty fantastic. Yeah, thanks. So one of the topics we had discussed that we're going to talk about is education for first-time home buyers. Yes. Right? Yes. So what kind of things do you like on your side? What do you like really focus with when it's a first-time home buyer? Yeah, I think it's such an important time. No matter, I mean, a lot of these first-time home buyers are renting because that's just what it is. You're either living at home with mom and dad or with a friend or whatever, or you're renting. And so you may, sign a lease in October, and then by, May of next year, you get engaged. Who knows? Crazy things happen. You have a baby, you want to move out of the state, whatever it is. And you still have that time period up until your lease is, done. So we really try and focus on, people who are renting, living with, family members, whatever it is, to just let them know that it is never too early to have the conversation. It's never too early to have the conversation with a realtor, and especially with a lender. I would rather have you be over qualified and over, have all of these things done and ready to go. So when you are ready to actually start looking, to actually really get pre-approved, then the timing lines up well for you and you're not scrambling and it's a stressful situation. Because it's a big deal. Buying a home is a big deal. So making sure that you're connected and you have a trusted team with you that is willing to work with you, and it may not be right now. And that's okay. I think that's, realtors get such a bad rep of trying to, get the sale right now, get the sale. And so it's super important to have a realtor and a lender that you trust, that you're in relationship with, that can help educate you on the products, the things that are going on for you guys. Like,
what are the loan products? What are the first time home buyer benefits and things that they can have when they're ready to buy a home? And then for us to tell them, hey, we're going to go in, we're going to look at homes, and you're going to see things like, oh, I love this open concept, or I love this backsplash, or whatever it is. But it's our job to educate you on things that you can't really see. What does the roof look like? What are the mechanicals like? Right. So just making sure that you have somebody that you trust that's able to actually educate you and give you those details versus just trying to, let's get in, let's do it, and, make this transaction happen.
100%. I use the farmer analogy all the time. Like, we're farmers, right? We plant that seed, and whether we harvest it in 3 months, depending on the cycle, right?
Absolutely.
Or in some cases, it's 2 years. Like, I closed a loan earlier this year where a self-employed borrower came to me 2 years ago, and hairstylists, so they make great money, but a lot of times on taxes, it doesn't really show. And so I tell her, like, here's what we have to do. And, in the short term, you may have to not write as much off in taxes, pay a little bit more in taxes, but that's how we have to. So 2 years later, she calls me up. I just did my 2022 taxes. We're ready to go. And sends me everything over, and we close. 60 days later. So,
Absolutely.
by building that and literally giving her the path, right? And, what I find is a lot of times people will go to a bank or a lender and they'll just like, oh yeah, we can't do nothing. And, blah, 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 right? Find a cosigner.
It's
the
discouraging.
easy way out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So by having that trust, right? And then, that goes back to even for people like, oh, right now it's so, I don't need a lender, I don't need a real estate agent, right? Or I have an 800 credit score, I can buy anything I want, right? Well, we have to talk beforehand. I mean, whether you're buying $1 million home or you're buying a $200,000 condo, right? You should really understand like what it means to be like specifically a first-time home buyer, right? We go over closing costs, because the first time I bought a home, this was 2006, and no idea what was going on, and that was much different times. It was like, how much money you got? Oh, I got $5,000, right? Okay. Well, here's your payment. Sounds good. I built a brand new home, and prior to the crash, which was awesome.
Love that.
Right? So did like, okay, we started at, it was about, buying a brand new home, right? So okay, driving out to St. Michael, and we're seeing all these signs, and this is starting in the 220s, right? Okay, perfect, 220, great. Well, this house is a third-car garage. Now we're at 260. Then we go into the shop. Now there was like 320 when it was all said and done, right? Like almost $100,000 more what the signs were saying.
Yep.
$5,000 down, your payment's gonna be X. Okay, I guess I can afford that, right? I don't know what any of these other. I mean, I was naive, dumb.
Absolutely.
I was still selling cars at the time before I even got into finance. So it's quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
No idea. Nobody wanted to really explain anything to me either. What does escrow mean? What is what is this stuff? So really going over and like talking to people on my side and explaining like, what is simply the minimum down, right? Because okay, we got minimum down. Now we have closing costs. Well, what are the closing costs? You got title, you got taxes, you got escrows, and the escrows is a big one, right? And then, I've had people in the past too where they'll call me up and like, hey, my payment went up. This is supposed to be a fixed rate. Well, your principal and interest is fixed rate.
Exactly.
Right? But your taxes and your insurance can go up, and that can adjust your payment. So making sure people understand that, is a big one, right?
For sure.
And then what I loved what you said, though, is the mechanics on that side of it, right? And talking to, because you are correct. There are lenders out there, or not lenders, agents out there that, they just want to get that sale. And it's specifically in a tough market.
Totally, yeah. Because
they don't want to go 30 different houses, they'll put 10 different offers in and not get them accepted, and they get discouraged. So then they just try, like, oh, you like this one? Should we put an offer in, right? Yeah. So having that, is very important for me and my clients. When I refer people out, I want to make sure that they're being handled with an agent, like in the proper way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just so important to know that as like an agent or a lender, like it's not about you. It's about these very nervous first-time home buyers.
What do you mean narcissism shouldn't be in this industry?
Right, exactly. You'd think, yeah.
Right.
But it's about these very nervous first-time home buyers that have literally zero clue as to what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, they've seen maybe their parents buy a home, maybe they've been in the same home their entire life, and now they're actually purchasing a $250,000, $500,000, dollar home for the first time on their own. So just making sure that you and the lender are on the same page with everything that's going on, and making sure that you both know, like, hey, this is not about us. This is about this couple. This is about this, hairstylist who's been working her butt off for 2 years, on her own, doing all these things. And she's finally buying a home because she's been discouraged by the market. So like understanding people's stories and being able to come from a place of like servanthood and being able to serve our clients in the best way possible, being patient with our clients as well, I think will serve us best in the industry, and we'll continue to get those repeat and referral clients, which is exactly what we want.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the next probably this winter. I mean, I think next year there's going to be a big purge in the industry, right? Agents are going to get out.
Yep.
Lenders are going to get out. It's just we ride these ups and downs,
Totally.
right? And right now, there's people that are doing good business in the market, right? There's people that are not doing very good business in the market. And a lot of it goes back to what we've done for our clients in the past. Why are we trusted? Why do I trust you to give you a client, and so forth? And making sure that's what we are. This is we're professionals, right? And having that team is so important for first-time home buyers, right? So, on the lending side, we have other things that we sometimes will have to do. To down payment assistance, for sure, we have to have them go through a class. Usually like the framework. Fannie Mae has a framework online class, or there's a in-person home stretch class. So depending on the borrower and what they want, is like, okay, if you want to go to an 8-hour in-person class on like a Saturday, or maybe even they stretch it over a couple different days, you can do it, and then we give them those contacts. Most people will do it online.
Yeah.
And it takes 3 or 4 hours to do, and they can save it. But it does educate them on what to expect, right?
Totally.
Like, I wish somebody would have said, "Here, take this class," so
right?
I knew what escrow even meant.
Absolutely.
Right?
And even having those, like, we always encourage people, no matter how far out they are or how close it is. I mean, some things you're not going to be able to be as prepared because there's, something that happens. There's some circumstance where you have to move in the next month. You know what I mean? But I think if if you're listening to this and you are, wanting, hey, maybe in the next year, maybe in the next 2 years, whatever, I want to start thinking about buying my first home, like reaching out and just having a meeting. Just because you have a meeting with a lender or a realtor does not mean that you are signing a contract to work with them for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? It's like, if you come from a place of contribution and, you're really wanting to just understand what's going on, that is our job. Our job every day is to have conversations about real estate, conversations about mortgages and all the things, so that we can further educate and best serve, clients that we have right now, friends and family, people that we're going to get down the line. So it's like, it's okay to have those meetings, to go have coffee. Don't be nervous or scared, to ask that, or to say yes when somebody reaches out to you to do that. You know what I mean? We just want to be able to be the best advocate for you in the journey, the whole process from beginning to end. It's a very emotional process.
Yeah, and again, what you hit on, a lot of people are scared, and specifically to talk to a lender. Like, oh my God, I don't want them to. I personally would rather talk to somebody 6 months in advance of them getting out of a lease, because there's so many times where like, oh, I have this, I think I have a 740 credit score. Well, a lot of times they are looking on the commercial side, or the consumer side. So the consumer scoring models on your credit card might say 740, but it might be a 699. Well, the difference between a 699 and a 700 or a 720 or 740 score, when it comes to rates and some mortgage insurance costs, it can be very, very expensive, right? But there's some things that I like to do. Like I just, I've been doing these reels on credit tips, like simply paying your credit card 3 days prior to your due date, just so it clears in time. So that actual balance gets sent into the bureau, right? Because a lot of times let's say you get all your points on a Visa card or whatever, And so you're spending that all month, and let's just say you have a $3,000 limit, but you're $2,200 on it by the time the month's over, right? Well, you're using the majority, you're over 60%, right, of your credit card balance. Well, that could impact your score like 20, 30 points.
Totally.
Right? And specifically, if you're limited, maybe you got a bunch of student loans and you're a first-time buyer, but now you're a 680 versus you should be a 710. Well, that can affect the loan programs and so forth. So. And then if I talk to you early enough, we can, if I even pull credit at that time, we do soft pulls now.
Yeah.
It's way more prevalent today than it was like 5 years ago. It was always a hard pull. We got to do it. Now soft pulls, we can even get, approvals done on a soft pull prior to actually going shopping, which is not a score impact.
Yeah.
But then we can educate them on, hey, if we just do a few of these different things, we can get that score to that next level. And maybe we go from an FHA to a conventional, which helps when you're out shopping, right? Right. Sellers, they have this big tendency not to want to take an FHA, which I'm going to give you real estate agents a hard time on this all the time because like just because they're FHA doesn't mean they're going to have they're not closed, right?
Yep.
But there's nuances, right?
Yep.
FHA, peeling paint, health and safety, things of that nature. So we get it. But what we try to always make sure that we're doing the best for them, right? Now, so many times like, hey, our lease is up in 60 days, and we got to let them know by next week. I'm like, oh my God,
yay!
Yes, sweet. All right, and then we don't have time to try to make that extra step.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So being the advocate, always don't hesitate to ever come and talk to us. So again, you're not in a lifeline contract.
Nope.
And and sometimes maybe people don't work well together.
Absolutely.
I got a referral last week, and it was like abrasive on the phone, and I literally said, I don't know if we're going to work well together because you're challenging me. So you've never bought a home before, but you're challenging me on what I'm trying to tell you, right? So there's times like that happens. Yeah. And it's just, I would rather not work with that person than have like the entire time where like it's just a challenge. And it's like, I do this every day.
Absolutely.
And I'm do to the best of my ability and make sure you get the best rate, the best everything. But at the same time, if you're challenging me on every step of the way, then it makes it that much harder.
Yeah, for sure. So, the relationship piece is so huge. So you just have to, shop around for the people that, you want to work with. Take time to go have coffee with a bunch of different people and see who you, gel best with. That's what it's going to be about. This process can be, very short or very long, depending on the market, depending on the things that you want. So you want to make sure that you actually like the people that you're working with. So like when Taylor calls you up and you're like, hey, what's going on? You're like, oh, I don't want to talk to that girl. You know what I mean? So we're not for everybody, right? But the people that we are, we're going to work really, really hard for and make sure that they have a great experience.
Yeah. And when I get to refer, it always goes more direction from the agent because people come to you first.
Totally.
Like when I was in the car industry, people wouldn't go to their bank first to get a car loan. They would go to the dealership. And then they'd always say, okay, well, I'm going to go talk to our bank. Well, I was a finance manager, right? And we have all the banks, right? So it's like, well, we can do it for you, right? But that's kind of the same thing. They go to Zillow, they realtor.com, they find a house and then they call you, right? And then you say, hey. So anyway, when I'm going through and trying to refer people, right? I know your personality. I know, you may not get along with this other person, but that's why we do try to give multiple people out. So that way it's not just one-sided and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I think with you, a lot of people probably can get along with you pretty easy.
I try to make it pretty easy. Yeah.
That's good. What other things, what else were we going to talk about? We got,
we can
staging. Oh, when you're selling, this is a really good one.
Yeah.
So I did have another agent on just a few weeks ago about staging, right? And doing the right things when you're selling, right? What are your tips and things that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think it's very important to trust the realtor that is coming into your home and, essentially trying to work for you to get an opportunity to list your home so that you can net the most amount of money or, you can get it sold as quickly as possible, whatever your goals are. It's very important to listen to what they're saying. Majority of people, this is their full-time job. They're in the market every single day. They're doing these listing appointments, seeing how the market's changing from a seller side and from a buyer side. So I think it's important to, trust who you're bringing into your home. Listen to what they're saying. You don't have to agree with everything that they're saying, but at least listen to it. They're most of the time not trying to come in and just, say things to say things, right? They want to help you get what you want for your home. So in that, I think, having proper preparation for your home, knowing the condition of your home and the condition of the market, what is that going to look like? Do you need to maybe do some, new carpet, maybe paint, maybe, we need to stage the home. Maybe you're moving out and we're just going to do a total little fluff and buff and get everything ready to go, so that, we can get this thing sold and have it pop over the first weekend. So really being conscious of what's in your home currently and where it maybe potentially needs to be, and listening to that advice too. And then having conversations with your realtor and saying, hey, like, we don't want to do this, but we will do this. Hey, let's make a compromise and do the things, that we can do to get your home in the place where we can net the most amount of money for you. I mean, that's our job too, right? That's what we want to do. We don't just want to, sell it for, the lowest amount and then have you pay a certain amount of money. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. We always say, if you do carpet, paint, not all of these things, but these are smart dollar spends, carpet, paint, flooring, light fixtures, staging, and cleaning. If those are smart dollars. So we always say that if you do those things well, you will get $2 to $3 back on your investment. So, I mean, that's huge. That's a $200, $300 increase in, or percent increase in what, you put your money into. So I think that's super important, and just being conscious of, where it's at, where you want it to be, and then pricing according to the condition of your home that it's in right now.
Correct. Because, I've seen it way too many times where just because you want $650,000 from your home, and it's really a $500,000 home.
Yep, for sure.
That's the reality. Like, oh, it was over at so and so's, and that's $650,000, and this is the same square footage. Well, that might be 10 miles away.
Absolutely.
Right? And in your own development, like, is anything sold for $650,000 or things of that nature? And I've seen it, before, and it's just like what ends up happening is you go to market with and I've talked to agents and they're like, oh yeah, they wanted to go at this, now we're sitting on the market 3 months and we're now discounting and now we're not even getting, people are coming in for that and now they want to even offer less because it's been on the law, but if we would have priced it right, did the comparables, really looked at it and said, hey, this is the right price. You guys have strategies on that, and then ways to, like, I had one agent say, never price it at like $419, right?
Oh yeah,
like $425, $424.9.
Yep.
Because people put their searches at $425, or put it at $429 because their search was $425. They might not see it, right? You always do it's like $25K.
Yep. That's what
and then
tell.
there's I've seen it where they've been extremely underpriced, and then they get 30 offers, right?
For sure.
Which is that's got to be a pain on your side.
I mean, it's hard. It's tough for sure. You just have to. You never want, to underprice a home. I mean, the work for all of that. Yes, it's a lot, but again, it comes down to what is the seller's goals and how can we get there fastest and how can we net the most amount of money.
Right. So netting the most amount of money is the best, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, hey, we're coming up on the end of our episode, but it's been a great pleasure to have you on. Your charisma is great. I'm looking forward to see where you go in this industry because you're so new to it. I mean, it's been 3 years and you're not necessarily new at this point, but overall, like, I look forward to see how your future goes. I can't wait for that. Anything you want to add at all today?
Yeah, no, I appreciate this. It's been super fun. I think, if you're looking to buy or sell, it's never too early to start having conversations with people, with lenders, with realtors, talk with your friends and family, people who have used and bought and sold homes before, and just, start building that education and that foundation so that when you are ready to buy or sell, the next step in where you can go.
And reach out to Taylor.
Yes,
as well as myself. With that being said, please like and subscribe. Reach out to either one of us if you have any questions you like this episode. We'd love to speak with you. With that, thank you again.
Thank you.